NATO has come out in an official policy statement and said that cyber attacks directed by Russia against any Western infrastructure, any computer systems, will be seen as an act of war, and that NATO may respond with military force. That is really an unprecedented statement. We'll be looking at that today. Speaking of living on the edge, Breitbart is now reporting on something that we began to expose 5 years ago when the Syrian conflict was started by NATO and the Clintonistas, along with the Obama crew. Obama admin aided group that became ISIS to control area where ISIS formed its caliphate. And the point is that there are now more government memos and Pentagon reports coming out confirming everything the Pentagon told us 5 years ago. And, of course, we didn't need the Pentagon to tell us. We were already exposing it. The Pentagon just confirmed that to Infowars.com. They also told Cy Hirsch that. They also told many others that who did not run with the story at the first because they were too afraid to. And I'm not criticizing those people. It's just everyone needs to understand, I don't get up here and make things up. Sometimes I'm satirical. Sometimes we, have a little bit of fun, but we're very clear and demarcation when we're being silly versus when we're being serious. And more, I'm not silly, even though that's something that takes the edge off, and gallows humor is certainly needed. More and more, we are about 98% very serious around here these days because the time is getting late, as Jimi Hendrix would say, or I guess as Bob Dylan would say when he wrote All Along a Watchtower. Boy, I tell you, this is going to be a broadcast today. I had Dr. Tony Bark coming on, an amazing medical doctor exposing the dangers of vaccines, but with all the terror heating up and what's happening in the economy, I'm offering to move her into the fourth hour with Rob Dew because he loves to talk about vaccines. So do I, but he really is into that even more than I am. Such a central issue. Or she can come on with us next week. But we've got Jakari Jackson coming on at the bottom of the next hour. He got some really eye-opening, just some of the most amazing of a giant system, constellation of amazing footage that our crew have gotten in the last year at Trump rallies. He got some really amazing footage that we're going to be going over today. We're going to be playing some of those clips. He's been on the road covering anti-Trump events the last 3 days. Several of our reporters, as we speak, are in a car driving to Dallas to cover the Trump event tonight. That is 7 o'clock. There are reportedly socialist and Democrats and battleground Texas groups, that's an illegal alien promoting group, basically, that are saying they are giving, thousands of people free bus rides from all over the state to conflagrate up in Big D. And that kicks off tonight at 7. We'll have coverage of that on the nightly news tonight, 7 o'clock Central. So definitely stay with Infowars.com for all of that today. We also have Citizens for Trump, the head of that organization, on, highly recommended by Roger Stone and the whole Trump operation separately. They have been basically denied permits for myself and Roger Stone and others to hold free speech rallies in Cleveland. And so the ACLU has asked myself and others to become co-signatories to a lawsuit demanding access to the First Amendment. They're in Cleveland, and we're going to be doing that. I'm going to be a plaintiff to that, and I'm going to demonstrate. So that's just the end of it. The communists, of course, will be running around attacking police and everything. It'll be coddled and protected by the police because it's a Democrat-run city, and I'm sure we'll be excoriated for being horrible and evil and just peacefully engaging in the First Amendment. But it's going to happen. So that's just the way it is. Black Lives Matter can organize its, latest move to shoot cops in the back of the head and be given all the permits they could ever want. Of course, they just don't even get permits and are left alone because it's all this George Soros-funded garbage. The same people that fund ISIS and that fund the Nazis in Ukraine and every other evil organization are just trying to overthrow this country and bully us into submission. And I don't know how all this is going to end, but I know this. I'm not backing down. I'm not giving in. I'm not giving up, especially when we're starting to turn the tide against this slime. Big transmission, huge news across the board. Straight ahead. They're coming after our guns big time. Matt Drudge came out yesterday and told the head of Homeland Security, if you want us to turn our guns in, you say that's a matter of Homeland Security, turn your guns in. There's a gun and ammunition just inside the doorway. Use it only in emergency. That's what it comes down to. In fact, the song continues on. Guns aren't going to save us in the final equation, but if they do get the guns, that's the final symbol of slavery. It's one of the final pieces in making us domesticated slaves with almost no chance for turning things around. And that's why tyrants have hunger, an instinct to disarm us. But it will be free speech and ideas and intellectual freedom that will lead the vanguard of the new Renaissance. And if the enemy then wants to offensively attack us, it will be guns and weapons in the physical war that will complete the circle and deliver us back into the good graces of liberty. And that's why today I thought I would just display this flat black judge. I've been buying judges since Taurus came out with them 20 years ago. And I think I've probably got 4 or 5 of these. This is the self-defense weapon I tend to have around the house. Quick access, but that way you don't shoot through walls. That way you don't kill your neighbors. And you don't have to be as good a shot if you're half asleep or startled. The safest thing in your house is about a number 7. Here at the office, so I may need a little bit more distance on somebody. I've got, what is it, triple-aught buck 4 44 caliber pellets in each shotgun cartridge. And Taurus isn't a sponsor, though they should be, because for me, this is just a really great firearm. This is 1225000 Buck Remington Ultimate Home Defense. And I've tested these out on wet phone books, and I've also tested these out on small game, and I have found this to be the best round. They've got a lot of other supposedly fancier ones that have different odd shapes and things, or shoot darts out. That's all just a gimmick. You want to go with good old-fashioned buckshot because its velocity is a lot higher. Unless, again, you're in your house, then you want to go like a number 7, 7.5, but up close it'll kill somebody deader than a hammer. And this is what it's all about. That way you don't shoot at somebody, it goes through them and then kills somebody on the other side. It just dissipates its force on the target, and then you're done. And, of course, with a shotgun cartridge, it dissipates not just because of there being more pellets, but also because there's a shorter barrel, but they don't weigh as much, and so they dissipate and lose force, and you really aren't lethal at past maybe 100 yards with triple-aught buckshot. With the number 7.5 bird shot, you're not really lethal anywhere past 20, 30, 40 feet. But up close, somebody's breaking in your house, shoot somebody 10 feet away, it's going to go almost through them and dissipate all its force inside their body, and then you are alive and they are dead. Imagine if the security guard, licensed to carry, hadn't turned and run in Orlando. Imagine if someone would have fired back. Imagine what would have happened. Because it doesn't matter if the person's wearing a bulletproof vest. You shoot at somebody with a shotgun, handgun, or shotgun rifle style, you aim towards their head, you're going to end up hitting them with some pellets, and they're not going to be in a position to continue to kill people. And that's the whole point of defending yourself. You shoot somebody with a 7mm mag, let's say, in that place, it's going to go through the body armor, through them, and out the back and hit somebody else. But again, I'm not even Mr. Firearms expert. But compared to these disarmed slaves, I'm a completely different animal, completely different creature. And so, again, I would just recommend that everyone go out and get a firearm. There is also a video that Tim Kennedy talked about yesterday, right at the end of the interview I did with him. And I'm going to ask one of our great editors, Darren McBreen, or whoever can do it, to real fast grab the last 5 minutes of the Tim Kennedy interview. And he brought up one of these BuzzFeed videos they're pushing. The left is showing a leftist shooting a M4 or an AR-15 that basically has no kick. A 5-year-old could shoot these all day. Now, if you held it totally listlessly with no force, it might jerk a little bit into your shoulder. But they sell this perception that firearms are just these devastatingly, dangerous, explosive things that no one can control. But somebody's not scared of a nail gun or scared of a chainsaw or scared of something else that, on average, you're going to get injured with a lot more often. A lawnmower. It's a big spinning sling blade, Kaiser blade. I mean, super deadly. Chop your foot right off. Chop your toes right off. Happens all the time. It doesn't even make the news. But it's just an accident. Firearms are built for safety. They fire a projectile out the front where you're aiming them. If you just learn basic safety and get past the mystic awe and fear around it, we can win this culture war, but we've got to take trendies out, and we've got to get them to be able to fire firearms and learn how to use them responsibly. That's why they're putting out all these videos, I've noticed, where people fire 223s, people fire 5.66, however you denominate it, and it shows them being knocked over and falling down. That is being done like the old Police Academy movies where the little old lady shoots the .357 Magnum and it blows her back through the wall. I mean, I was firing .357 Magnums when I was 6 years old. The secret is you just hold it with a little bit of force and control in your hand, and it just kicks back with the force of a puppy pushing its paw into you. I mean, it's just nothing. Now, I will say I've gone out and shot 100 rounds of 50 cal before and not really paid attention and just done it like I'm relaxed. And then it, kind of knocked my back out of play. But as long as you tense up when you're firing it, it's not a problem. But that's different when you're holding some, 50-pound Barrett naval, version or Army version, and you're sitting there, firing it over and over again. Yes, then you can have some issues. But it's just, a lot of folks, I tell them, I think the Judge is a great firearm because it's a legal shotgun cartridge in a handgun, the equivalent of a sawed-off shotgun, and it's just a lot of power, and it's just versatile on so many fronts. It doesn't kill people on the other side of the wall unless you're shooting triple-aught buck or slugs. And there's almost no kick from this. I mean, my children at age 7 or 8 have, gone out and fired these, even with slugs out in the country. And you just teach them to sit there and hold it with some force, have control, keep their finger off the trigger until they're ready, cock the firearm, aim at the target, pull the trigger. And then forever, they are free of the anti-gun brainwashing cult. Now, I've already digressed into that, but I'm going to obviously get into the news on that front. They're coming for the Second Amendment. They want executive orders to ban semi-autos, to ban their manufacture, to ban their sale. Obama actually said it, as you know, 2 days ago, and again yesterday. We spent most of the first hour yesterday playing that clip, going over it. Now, Jay Johnson came out and said that it's Homeland Security's job, and that for Homeland Security and public safety, we must restrict firearms. And he said because of growing American terrorism, the same quotes we heard out of Obama. They also want people to be put on a no-gun buy list, just like you're on a no-fly list. When they sit there and say, if you're on a no-fly list, we want you on the no-gun buy list, it's the same thing. No one knows how you're put on it. You can't get off of it. We had Tim Kennedy, top anti-terrorism expert, 15-year special forces, a lot of that in domestic anti-terrorism operations. I'll just stop right there, but that's known. Agreeing with me that it destroys due process, it's horrible, it's out of control. Johnson's pushing that too. And Drudge came out with the tweets. Drudge to DHS Secretary, give up your guns first. The reason it's important, when Drudge came here last year, and he said to Obama, give up your guns first. That became a meme, and then you saw other people like Ted Nugent pick it up. You saw Donald Trump pick it up. And now the general public's picked it up because that's an idea that's unstoppable. Michael Moore has bodyguards. Hillary Clinton has bodyguards. Steven Spielberg has armed bodyguards. They've all got former Special Forces commandos. They might be American, but most of those are conservative, so they're not. They're either Israeli or French. And, I mean, I've been to a lot of these people's houses. That's who's there. Usually at least 2 of them. And they've got armed commandos protecting them. And